Yeah, the other most important match of my career. Yeah, I talked about the one that I wanted to make sure to happen before my dad passed away. But the most important match up until that point in my career, December 10th, 2017, for Wrestle One. It was at Kurikan Hall in Tokyo, Japan, and I had first got the chance to go to Japan in early 2016, and that was a tryout month. And they pretty much just like kicked my ass for a month, and it was like the hardest month of my entire life. They just like torture you. But I got an opportunity. So I was able to bounce back and forth for 2016 and 2017. And when I was in Japan in 2016, I developed a friendship with a fellow named Yuji Hino, who's just this amazing, incredible beast of a man and a professional wrestler. We became really good friends, and he really looked out for me, and we did all the bro stuff together while I was over there. And eventually, we got a tag team storyline at Wrestle One, mid 2017, and they started building us up. And only saw us refer to this once or twice, but as Beast Tyrant. And I thought that makes perfect sense because he's a big beast, and my vibe was that of the Tyrant, you know. And but then somebody even told me that they wanted me to be the Beast and him to be the Tyrant, which didn't make a lot of sense, but hey, Japanese English is hilarious sometimes. So Hino and I got to be a tag team, and we got to get built up for the Wrestle One Tag League, which we swept the block in Wrestle One Tag League, and we made it to the finals, and I believe we won the B block. And then we ended up losing in the finals until the guys who a few weeks later won the tag team championships. And then we continued to regain and rebuild our momentum after we lost the finals of Wrestle One Tag League, and eventually built up a big rematch for Hino and I against Koji Doi and Kamaguro, the guys we lost to in the finals of the Wrestle One Tag League, and then they became the champions. So we got our huge rematch of sorts on our tag team championship opportunity. And this was built up, you know, over the course of a long time. So at the very end of 2017, we were going to be the big match at Kurikan Hall. And I say main event sometimes, and it was the main event. It was the big match. However, it didn't go on last. So if you get on Cage Match or Wikipedia or whatever, it didn't go on last because the heavyweight championship match goes on last. But the heavyweight championship match on that show was the dominant champion against the most established young boy, the green boy of the dojo. So it wasn't really like the main event. The big match, the big draw, was the tag team match. Myself and Hino versus Koji and Kuma. And we went out there, and in my opinion, we tore it up. It wasn't the most flashy match, but it was legit. Like, it was there, it was real. It was four big dudes fighting. And I might have been slightly the tallest guy in the match at 186 centimeters, but I was the lightest guy in the match at, 222 pounds at the time, like 100 kilos on the dot. And these were big old thick boys, and we were all into it, man. I mean, even at the very beginning, at one point, Kuma came charging at me, and I just snatched a headlock on that son of a bitch, and I drug him right over, and he had no idea that was coming right. We were going at it. Like, there was a lot of stuff. We didn't know where it was going to go, and then it was just bam. Two dudes clashing into each other, one dude snatching a hold real quick. The most proud moment of my career was that match and the intensity that we had in that match. And the near falls and everything were just on point, right? I loved it. And I got to be there in Japan with my Japanese best friend, and then two of my fellow dojo mates, the tag team champions. And ultimately, we lost. We didn't win the tag team championships. And I ended up going home about a week later. But I take the finish of the match. Bam! 1, 2, 3. I lose in the middle of Kurikan Hall looking up at the lights. And damn it, if that's not the most romantic thing that's ever happened to me in my life, I don't know what is. Because I dreamed of being in Japan my whole life as a wrestling fan and my whole life as a professional wrestler. And boom, there I am, dead in the center of the ring in the middle of Kurikan Hall, the most famous sports venue in Japan, looking up at the lights. And if you have been involved in professional wrestling, you know the romance that regards looking up at the lights. And when you need to look up at those lights, it means a lot more than just taking that L. And I rolled out of the ring to one of the sides of the building, I believe the north side of the building. And as I got to my feet, I believe it was Hino who grabbed my arm and put it around him, and we went to walk toward the back. And everyone on that side of the ring and the next side of the ring perpendicular stood up from their seats, and they looked at me and they started clapping. And they gave me that round of applause. And to win over the Japanese fans was really, really hard. And I don't know if I had won them over up until that point. But at that point, I knew I had. And wow, I kept it together and I kept it in here as I gave them the nod and as I held my neck, because that finish hurt something else. But man, I couldn't feel pain for a minute, even though I knew there was something wrong. And I walked back through the curtain into the back of the bowels of Korakuen Hall. And the second I got through that curtain, the tears just started streaming, because it was the most beautiful thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. That was why I got into professional wrestling. And if nothing else amazing happens to me for the rest of my career, that's cool. Because I had December 10th, 2017. And I had that moment, that 16 minutes of action, and then 2 or 3 minutes after, and I had that moment where I walked back through the curtain into the bowels of Korakuen Hall. And as a man, as the manliest, toughest, most goddamn manly way possible, I shed tears for this sport that I love. And that's what professional wrestling is. And that's what professional wrestling is to me. Best match of my life, best moment of my life.